Hi everyone, have you heard someone says varial kickflips are easier than kickflips? As a person who loves both of them, I actually think they are easier. And the truth is, Treflips are even easier than either one of these tricks. To me at least. But why? I mean, how can a more complicated trick be easier? If you're learning these tricks, understanding the science behind it might be able to help you. You're watching Why the Trick, and today we are going to study a trick scientifically. In order to understand why varial kickflips can be easier, we first have to understand what makes kickflips harder. We are talking about the science first, and how to do them after that. As I see it, one of the biggest problems many people have is that they think they can't flick properly. Although it is true that the use of front foot is undeniably important in kickflips, and we all need to practice a lot. But after practicing hundreds of thousands of times, your flick alone might not be the only reason why your board doesn't flip. In other words, by focusing too much on a seemingly important factor, which in this case is the flick, you might be overlooking what truly matters. Now, let's think about it scientifically and see exactly what is needed to flip your board. In order for your front foot to be able to give a flick to your board properly, your board should be coming at your front foot at the right speed. Let me put it this way. When you pop the tail, the nose comes up and eventually comes to stop. Right before it stops though, it virtually goes into a state of zero gravity. That's the time you can flip it with the tiniest amount of energy, even with a finger. However, when you're practicing kickflips, you tend to pop too hard and give the nose too much energy to go up. Ideally, the upward momentum of the nose should decrease and become small enough by the time you flick it. But when you pop the tail with all the energy your body has, you're virtually generating excess energy. And the problem is, this energy just doesn't disappear all by itself. Instead, you have to find a way to consume it by the time you finish flicking. To do that, you have two options. Option number 1. You may jump up really high and slide up your front foot to bring your board even higher, which when you're learning a trick is difficult. Or option number 2. You may use your front foot in a way that you hold down the momentum of the nose. But think about it, which do you think is stronger between the energy generated by your whole body popping down on the tail, or the energy of your poor little ankle trying to give a little flick? Needless to say, the energy of pop is generally way stronger. As a result, by popping too hard, which I call the overpop, your board sticks to your front foot and makes it hard to give a flick. Now that we know the physics behind kickflips, let's also study what makes varial kickflips easier. On one hand, similar physics applies here. When you pop down the tail too hard, or overpop, your board either sticks to your front foot too much, or flies away from you. But on the other hand, there is a big difference. In this case, the energy of the nose does not directly bump into your front foot. In other words, your front foot does not have to consume all the energy of the nose. Because of the horizontal spin of this trick, even if the nose has too much energy that goes up, it can find a way to disperse its energy into the air. And as for your front foot, it can flick out the board without interfering its spinning axis, and it doesn't have to deal with an additional burden to consume unnecessary energy. With the theories in mind, let's also talk about how to actually land varial kickflips. We are talking about two major components, pop and flick. Starting from pop. As I said, the nose of your board in varial kickflips doesn't go directly toward your front foot, but it doesn't mean you should pop as hard as you can. Try to imagine that you pop just as hard as it needs to deliver the nose of your board to your front foot. And popping any harder than that makes it difficult for you to consume all the energy, which, if there is too much left, simply causes too much friction between your board and your front foot, So focus on letting the nose stay in contact with your front foot and pop just as hard as needed. And if you're going higher, you may pop harder so the nose of your board can reach your front foot. However, keep in mind that you should lift up your body and your front foot high enough first. What's really important here is to adjust how hard you pop, depending on how high your front foot will be. Lastly, let's also talk about how to flick in varial kickflips, which I think is easier than in kickflips. In kickflips, you have to find a way to flick your front foot diagonally off to the heel side, which I think is anatomically unnatural. Some people, including me, try to flick out their front foot straight forward by shifting their weight to the heel side before jumping. But it takes some time to get used to the feeling of jumping backward. Whereas in varial kickflips, you can flick out your front foot either forward or even slightly to the toe side, which is how a human leg generally works. So after popping, watch the nose of your board comes up, follow it with your front foot, and flick out the side of it. In fact, in my case, I use the very tip of my toe to both slide up my board and give it a flick. And after sliding up my board diagonally up and inward, I flick on my front foot using the momentum. As a result, it seems like I'm flicking out my front foot straight forward without even thinking about it. So focus on the strength of pop. Keep your flick neat and compact. Give your board just enough amount of energy. And that's all for this episode. As always, you can see and interact with the 3D models you saw in this video on my website. Please make a good use of it and give me a feedback. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.